This is Kanzenshuu, the podcast, episode 518 for the week of March 23rd, 2025. Hey everyone, welcome back to Kanzenshuu, the podcast, an extension of the all-encompassing Dragon Ball fan site, Kanzenshuu. We cover anything and everything Dragon Ball in hopes of enlightening and a little bit of entertaining. Look at that on something of a regular schedule. I think we can maintain this pace for a little bit, roughly every 2 weeks. Let's see. My name is Mike. You may see me around as Vegito EX. Happy to be here with everyone. Happy to be back at it. I'm really just going to get right into the episode here. Already recorded, already edited, ready to go here. We're entering a little bit of an interview cycle here at Kanzenshuu, the podcast. The next few episodes broken up a little bit here and there with some other topics. Just got great conversations with great people. Some of these folks have been on the show before, some of them have not. A lot of familiar faces, a lot of familiar names at the very least. And kicking things off here, a voice you have technically heard on the podcast before. I am psyched to welcome to the show Rocco from Mega64. Rocco has been a longtime evangelist of Kanzenshuu, long before that, Kanzenshuu EX, and even Vegito EX's homepage. So I am extremely appreciative of that. I got Rocco on the show to talk about his time growing up, the earlier days, pre-tsunami of Dragon Ball fandom here in the US, how Rocco got into the show, how it shaped him as a fan of media in general. Of course, how Mega64 got involved with doing some live action Dragon Ball stuff officially, and then moving on from there. Hopefully you have seen the In 5 Minutes videos, but if not, we're going to tell you all about it. And then it takes a fun turn at the end. Rocco turns it on me and starts asking me questions. So I love that. I am ready to just get on into it here. Enjoy the conversation with Rocco. I will see you on the flip side. We'll wrap up the show, and that's it. Here we go. Hey, joining me on the show, I don't know, man. If you want a brief introduction to yourself for anyone who may not have been online for, I don't know, like the last 20 years.
I'll do my best.
Okay.
My name is Rocco. I'm with a group called Mega64, and we have been making videos, typically in the video game world, online sketches, video. We've had a podcast, all kinds of stuff. We've been doing it since 2003, so pre-YouTube. When you had to, as I'm sure you're very familiar with, if you wanted to see a video online, you had to upload a 35 megabyte MPEG file to your website. That's where we started. Then we moved to YouTube, and now we do all kinds of things, but we've been around for 20 years. I think the first videos we ever put out were kind of like putting video games into real life in a way where it would be like, okay, this is a normal thing in a game. When you're playing it, it doesn't strike you as weird, but it would be very socially awkward to actually see that happen. Like you're playing Shenmue, and he's asking everybody about sailors. Have you seen sailors? Well, okay, if somebody was doing that at Home Depot, that would be extremely weird. Somebody keeps asking about sailors. So, we would go film that. It was very Jackass-esque. And then, as the years went on, we would occasionally do something anime related. And then we stumbled upon, loved Dragon Ball for a long time. I'm sure you've seen it a couple times. And eventually we made a Dragon Ball video, and then that opened all kinds of new doors where it was like, oh, wow, people really want to see this. So, we have our Dragon Ball in 5 minutes series where we do each saga in live action, but we only use household items, no computer effects. So, it's like things made of cardboard and yarn and whatever to recreate the whole saga in an abridged form, which I don't think anyone ever had tried to abridge any of the sagas. We were the first to ever do that, period.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's it. No, but we, as much as we've been doing this for a long time, and again, our foundation was in video games. Those Dragon Ball videos, I think, ended up being the most viewed thing we ever did. So if anybody's listening to this, there's a good chance that's where they saw us for the first time. But
yeah.
There, I hope now maybe I've conveyed who the hell we
I think
are.
so. Yeah, actually, we're done. That was the entire show. I've heard everything. No, I want to roll way back to the beginning. I want to hear about young Rocco getting online, hearing about this cool series. Take me back to the beginning, your own introduction to Dragon Ball as a fan, maybe the larger works of Toriyama, obviously big into video games. So, what else you may have come across. And then this is your life, Rocco. We're going to go through the entire thing, beginning to end.
All right. So we're going back to the beginning. I will say on my end, how I discovered Dragon Ball and got into it and whatever, my path to that was, I believe it was just seeing, trying to remember the exact order of things, but I remember was huge into RPGs. I remember the Super Nintendo Final Fantasies were like my whole family. My mom would play them primarily, and we would gather around and watch her like it was theater. Like we were just glued to it. Like,
sure. I
just got an airship. Like that was like we were calling people into the room, like, come in here. And then Chrono Trigger came out, and it was like, whoa, this is like, it's not, it's kind of Final Fantasy, but it's not, and it's about time travel. It was so cool. And I thought the artwork was so amazing. And then just unconnected to that, I think around then I saw in syndication, I used to just wake up obscenely early, and in syndication, I think I saw the original Dragon Ball just dubbed on one channel that we had. Thought it was weird. Even when I was really young, I could tell when my favorite shows came from Japan. I felt like I enjoyed the shows more. Like I remember watching the Noozles on Nick Jr. when they had that, and it was like, oh, I could tell this is like not made here. It's really interesting, and the animation's different. And, I was a huge Power Rangers fan. And, I was just combing through every episode like, okay, I think this is when it's Japanese footage. Okay, this is US footage. And this is, I really loved all that. And, so I was, where was I going with this? So Dragon Ball, it was like, another Japanese show I've never really heard of. This is kind of interesting. I'll have to keep this in mind because it seems really cool. But I only saw maybe an episode or two. And then I was reading Nintendo Power after Chrono Trigger came out, people saying like, wow, this is like one of the best games ever. This is so great. And I love the artwork done by Akira Toriyama, who also created Dragon Ball. And it was like that scene in, I don't mean to spoil The Usual Suspects, but like when the guy drops the coffee mug at the end. I dropped the magazine like the same guy made it makes, and then I'm looking at I tried to catch Dragon Ball on TV again, and I'm like, the designs are similar. He's got spiky hair. Like that was like a revelation, and so I really loved what I saw, but I didn't know when it aired, and I don't think locally they didn't air all the episodes or something like that. And then of course, like everybody else, it all kind of laid dormant, and then Toonami came around. And it was like, Dragon Ball Z, I heard about this. I heard it was really good. And then I remember watching that first episode, and Raditz comes out of the pod, for the first time. And I remember thinking, dude, hey, because I watched it with my brother. My brother's name is Dominic. I was like, Dominic, that's Vegeta. That's the strongest guy in the show, I heard. So this guy's not going to go down easy, And then it's like, wait, this is another guy? And I watched the first one, didn't really kind of... it was neat to see it, but I didn't follow it every day. It just, it was just kind of whenever I was able to catch it. But my brother stuck with it. And then he was telling me, he's like, oh my God, these guys showed up, the Saiyans. They've been fighting them for like 3 weeks now, it feels like. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Again, I was used to Power Rangers. They would fight a monster, and in one episode, they'd be done. So I'm like, what are you talking about? And I started watching the tail end of the Saiyan saga, and I'm like, they're fighting these guys across like 8 episodes? Like, I'm coming here every day, and it's not over? It was like, I've never seen anything like this. And I was just glued from that point on. I could not stop. And then, of course, I went through the same vicious cycle as everybody else, watching them get through the, when Jason Birder shows up in the Frieza saga, like,
that's Raditz again.
They're going to beat him next week. Wait, why is Raditz's pod going to Earth again? And I think I did that about 12 times.
We all did.
And then eventually started watching it on the international channel, I just heard
you talking about that. That's great.
Yeah. The international channel. Oh, they're playing it uncut Japanese, and they're fighting Frieza now. Oh, well, I'm going to keep watching that. And I was going to like your site, if I'm being real, because I'm setting up for, I described what I do. I'm about to describe what you do, and you get no say in it.
I love it. Okay.
I was going to your site to figure out kind of what was going on. And then we had Telemundo here in San Diego. And they're showing like the Cell Saga in Spanish. So I'm like getting all these tastes of the show in different eras. And it was like a renaissance. It was like the greatest time in my life ever. It was just incredible seeing all these bits of this show. It's like, oh my God, there was such a saga unfolding on all these different mediums, and now this is where it gets to you. Is of course I was combing the internet religiously, just seeing what I could find. Like, what's this guy's power level? What do you mean they're Super Saiyan 2? What is that? And then I found your site, and it was the Vegito EX homepage, or however you worded that. Is that how you worded it?
Yeah, it was initially Vegito EX's homepage. That was like the first version on my site.
Yeah, exactly. The very first version. And would just comb through that. And I remember, I'm telling you, no joke, one of the best times in my entire life is sitting in the back of our biology class. I was in like 8th grade, 9th grade, I don't remember, but me and another friend in that class, we just would print out pages of your site, just like, did you read this? Did you see
I did that for other sites too. I know that so well. Yeah.
It felt like we found secret scrolls. We would just pour over this stuff and rip out things, and here's a picture of this guy. Wow, Krillin gets hair. Oh my gosh, we print it out and put it in our binder, and it was just the most magical time. So I do have to say, you were such a key. Your site, and I mentioned it on my own stream earlier tonight, DBZ Uncensored that Chris
for sure.
did, were like the greatest websites I'd ever seen in my life. It was like just amazing. So you were such a keystone. So you asking me to be on this podcast, this is like a Beatle asking if you want to jam on a track. Like this is like a huge honor. Like I said, key foundational part of my entire life. I'm still doing stuff with DBZ now, or Dragon Ball in general now. So I can't thank you enough. So everyone at home, pay your respects. Vegito EX, one of the early names in the internet. Forget Zuckerberg, forget Steve Case,
right.
Or whatever the AOL
I'm before Facebook.
Exactly.
I predate Facebook. That's right.
Everyone watching this, pay your respects. I hope I have. So,
you said I can't thank you enough for that. There's so many things I want to hit in what you're talking about there. Two things to go off of though. One is the storytelling nature of the show. It's like, it's not a single episode and you're done. You got to come back next week. And especially when it was in syndication, we only had one episode a week, and eventually season 2, we got 2 episodes. Then they moved to Toonami. People are spoiled. They're getting 5 episodes a week. You think to the modern era now, you load up Crunchyroll, it just autoplays 1 through 291. Like, you don't have to work for the show anymore. And I'm with you in like that magical time, because I lived through the same thing where it was, we had syndication, we had Telemundo, we had the international channel, and to be able to see like, the English dub is doing this over here, the Mexican dub's doing this over here, oh shit, the original Japanese version, I can see this. And I think that made us, and we'll head this way in a little bit with you, I think it made us more, I hesitate to say like well-rounded fans, but perhaps a little bit more well-rounded.
Let me tell you, I'm gonna sound like a major douchebag, because every kid in my class back then, or everyone I knew in high school, even going into college, they were always like, well, I'm always going to be a dub guy because I found it on Cartoon Network and how much that meant to me. And I was thinking 4-dimensionally. I was like, okay, the Spanish dub Cell, he's the best. He's my favorite actor, but the original Frieza Japanese actor is the best. I was like, nah. And like, once I heard the Japanese performances, that I was like, that's how it's supposed to be. None of my friends could relate to, they were like, why does Goku sound like that? That's a very strange voice. I'm like, free your mind. The Matrix was brand new at that time too. I was like, no, take the, I don't know take the sensu bean. I don't know if anyone out there will get that, but the green pill, I guess. Take it. This is terrible. You can cut that whole part out.
No,
but
the whole thing stays.
Okay, great. But yeah, I was just like, this is unlike anything I'm watching. The original score, the music, didn't feel aesthetically like anything that was on kids' TV.
Yeah, talk to me about that a little bit, because I know you just mentioned this on the stream you were doing too. Kikuchi's score, it was unlike anything we had on television, other than maybe something like the Batman animated series with its full orchestral score, and like those kinds of shows. That wasn't the show that we would normally watch on TV. And I think for you and I, like, we're watching the syndication version, like, this is cool, but what about the original? And it sounds like we both had the same experience, where the instant we got the original, it's like, Oh, like light bulb. Oh, okay. I get it now. I get it. This is the show.
Yeah, hearing the way Goku sounded in the Japanese version, the original performance and all that, it's like, oh, I get what the character's supposed to be now. It's told through the performance, even though I can't understand every word they're saying. I see how it's supposed to be. And then, yeah, that music, it's again, very specific, weird memory, but I literally remember helping my grandma decorate her house for Christmas, like decorate her tree for Christmas. And someone was flipping channels and hit the international channel. And it was the episode where Goku was making the huge spirit bomb against Frieza before he'd go Super Saiyan. And them going, isn't this that Dragon Ball show? And I turn around and that score and it's playing through. My grandma still had like the most 1950s TV. It was like the TV embedded in the giant oak cabinet.
Hell yeah. Yep.
And through one speaker, it's just going dun 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 dun. It's like I could feel my DNA change. It was like, this is how it sounds like this. It was just, going through apropos for that arc, I guess. So felt like I was going through a transformation. It was really like, I think, when I was younger, I was seeking things that were not like anything else, And Batman filled that category. Yeah, Batman, just the pacing of it, the sound of it, the look of it wasn't like anything else that was airing. I remember watching Ren and Stimpy as a kid, and it was like, this isn't really like paced like any other cartoon, and the animation was not rigid, and it was, I was always looking for those things that were like, whoa, my mind just changed. So that fit the bill for sure. I'd never seen anything like that.
That's
so
great.
You get me going on all these subjects. I can't stop.
No, I love talking about it. I love hearing the similar stories and just like reliving through this time. Let's jump ahead though. So, all right, getting older, Mega64 comes into being. You're there for years, it feels like. And then Funimation approaches you. This is probably when was Battle of Gods? So it was 2013, so it was 2014 ish. So Funimation approaches you and says, hey, Battle of Gods is coming out. You're doing this live action stuff. This is cool. Let's collaborate. How does that come to be beyond that? And then tell us a little bit about what you put together and kind of like where it went from there.
So if people hadn't seen it, this was even before we did these DBZ in 5 minutes videos. We did an officially sanctioned, however officially sanctioned something could be, I guess, video for Battle of Gods, where a Funimation host introduces that we made our own live action trailer, and then we purposely got every detail wrong, where it's just, it's like Piccolo's going Super Saiyan. Vegeta just gets shot by a guy robbing him and leaves. It's just the most pathetic version of Dragon Ball, and that just came about honestly because a lot of these times there's so many things that happen just because you meet someone and the vibes are right, and that was. I don't think that ever would have happened had we not done. We did a small anime con. It was a small con in Florida, I think. EXP Con they used to do. They haven't done it in a while, but we used to love going to this small con in St. Augustine, Florida. And we went, and then I think there was one year it was getting a little bigger, and they actually got Funimation to come out and do a booth. And I think there was one guy they sent out, basically, Justin, who worked there at the time.
Sure.
And it was kind of just like we were guests of the con, and we just made friends with them. And I remember we were like hanging in the jacuzzi after the con was over, and we just like hit it off, made friends with them. And then I kept saying, hey, Funimation ever needs anything, let me know. And then never thought it would happen. Then finally a few years later, it was like, hey, there's a new Dragon Ball movie, and I think we might actually have some budget to make some kind of promotional whatever. Do you think you're up to it? And it was like, oh, yes. And again, we never thought we'd get to do it again. So we thought the funniest thing would be to try really hard, like actually have like decent effects and some good shots in it. But it's just, you got every single thing wrong about the show. Every detail is like the opposite of what it's supposed to be. I think Neo shows up from the Matrix at one point to fight it is like, we tried to make it feel like big fans just fumbled the whole thing. And then it cuts back to Justin as a host going, "Hey, we're sorry. We didn't know they were going to do that." We're like he apologizes for our video. Yeah, we made that for him. I didn't think, I was like, I'm going to use the original Kikuchi soundtrack. I'm going to do all that. Is that okay? And, yeah, oh yeah, do whatever. So I was just stoked to do that. And we did. And then, they played that like at their booth, like for the next like year. When they would go to conventions, people would be like, what is that? Like the big screen at their booth would be playing, again, Piccolo, our friend Garrett as Piccolo going Super Saiyan. It's just this terrible image and just people going, why are they playing this? And,
you say terrible and wrong, but like as you watch it, it's so clearly intentional in how wrong it is that like it loops back around again to, oh, they know their shit so well that only someone who knows their shit so well can do something like this to make it look like this. So is that what kind of inspired like, oh shit, this did really well. We had fun doing this. Did that just immediately take you into doing kind of like the next sagas in 5 minutes?
Yeah. So what happened was then I think that did well. That video did really well, I think, everywhere it was kind of put. And so the next year there's another movie coming. They're going to do Resurrection F. Yeah. So the Frieza movie was about to come out and they were like, you want to try this again? And we were kind of like, oh, damn, we kind of used every DBZ gag. I mean, we went like Super Saiyan 15 in that video we made. Like, I don't know what other gags there are to do. And then I think Derek here in our group, he spoke up and was just like, oh, why don't we just recap, if Frieza's coming back, why don't we recap the Frieza saga? Just do that. I was like, okay, but how could we do, like, are we like just refilming that whole saga? That sounds like a nightmare. And then we kind of came up with this idea of, there's that movie Be Kind, Rewind, where they lost all these great movies, so they have to refilm them on their own, and all they have is like terrible props and like, they're doing Ghostbusters with yarn and a broomstick and stuff like that. We were like, what if it was that style? And then it would be easy to tell the whole saga because you could just have everyone in purposely bad costumes, cheaply. We don't have to do any effects. Okay, yeah, let's do that. So we pitched that to them. They were like, sure, go for it. And they didn't really it wasn't like a huge budget or anything. So we were like, oh, these props will be cheap. It'll be fine. It took a lot longer to make everything than we thought. It was like, oh yeah, Frieza has a ton of forms. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I believe as rewatching all of them today and just losing my shit all the way through again. And I was thinking the same thing. It's like, you don't really think about it, but yeah, Frieza's got the 4 different forms and you get to sell and like the more elaborate along the way. It has to have been a nightmare to make all that stuff.
Yeah, so we found out we'd never done a video like this where we went in with a rule, no computer effects. If any effect happens, it's in camera. If something explodes, it's us taking the filter off the lens so that it blows out the light in the camera. It's like, it's really just all, we thought that would just be really funny to see, the most poorly made video telling the biggest saga. But yeah, we learned quickly. It was like, okay, cool. There's no computer effects, but because of that, you have to make all this stuff, every effect ahead of time before you go film it. So it took like a month to make all the Frieza saga gear, everyone's costume, all the props. It was like, oh man, I think they were kind of expecting this video by now. What do we do? So then we just filmed it over an extremely long, I think that first Frieza saga video is like a weekend and a few days. It took a month to make all the costumes. Not that long to film it relatively, but they were, the days were long. They were the longest, most miserable days because it was like the hottest day in San Diego, of course, or something like that.
Of course, yeah.
And so we were out in a park just from like dawn to dusk. Okay, Frieza does this. And then he stabs Krillin with his horn. Okay, who has strawberry soda? Can someone get a strawberry soda? Okay, pour that on him. Okay, it was just going in order. And it was just like, we've been here like 12 hours. The longest day ever. But then editing, because there's no effects, could do that in like a day. I mean, I remember going into the office early in the morning and by that night, it was like, I think the whole Frieza saga is done. I was just having so much fun. And then adding sound effects and Foley and stuff like that, just decided, well, it's all homemade. I'll do all the sound effects with my mouth. Instead of searching and having to re-record all these effects, I'm just going to hit play. Okay, we're done. Yeah, all right. Little did I know that, as these videos...
And just saying things like whoosh as they take off.
Yeah, literally. I think if you ever see somebody fly away and you hear whoosh, that's actually a recording of me doing that in like 2002 or 3. I recorded myself saying that, and I've used that recording for 20 plus years.
Oh, that's incredible.
But yeah, it was, it would wind me. I mean, by the end of recording the sound effects, I was like ready to pass out, but it's still a lot quicker than having to hunt and peck for all these sounds. So then, yeah, we edited it together, and it was like, oh, we got it to them relatively quick. I mean, it took a month to make the costumes, but filming and editing wasn't so bad. Okay. So then we got it to them. And to be honest, I may be pulling this out of my butt. I don't know for sure, but I kind of got the, so we called it, it was, the video was like just under 5 minutes. So we called it Dragon Ball Z, the Frieza Saga in 5 minutes. Like, here's the whole Frieza Saga in 5 minutes. Live action, you know, whatever, abridged. And I got the impression they didn't care for it. Like, we gave it to them, and it was like, oh, like the last video we did for them had After Effects and lots of, it was just all over the place. But this one was like deliberately bad costumes, deliberately poorly, you know, we're just doing handheld camera and shoving it in people's faces. It was meant to be really homemade and rough.
Right.
And I think they were kind of like, maybe they loved it. I don't know. I may be wrong, but I got the impression compared to the one we gave them before, they were kind of like, huh, oh, is this purposely crappy? And it's funny because we put it out, and the initial reaction we got from our fans was, yeah, this is kind of like just a kind of a bad Smosh video. Like, why did it's so unlike anything you've ever done. I don't know if I like this. And we were like, huh, okay, well, I had fun doing it. I like the Frieza Saga, so it was fun. And then we just kind of walked away from it. But then like a year went by, 2 years went by, and it's like, hey, this has like 10 million views. Like, what is going on? And then we uploaded it on other sites, and it got another 10 million views. It was like everywhere it went, suddenly we became the DBZ people. It was like, oh, I know these guys. They filmed DBZ in live action. This is amazing. And I was just like, oh, okay. It found an entirely new audience. Like, our current audience at the time kind of didn't know what to think, but a new audience discovered us and was like, where did this come from? So I don't know. That was kind of a roundabout way to get there, but yeah, that was kind of we did that. Like I said, we did that for Funimation, and I don't remember them really playing it that much. I think they might've played it at their booths like the other one, but I just don't feel like, I feel like maybe we disappointed them with that. I don't know for sure. I'm not sure.
That's interesting. I mean, especially in retrospect, seeing where it went from there and being able to do basically the rest of the series and then onward into other series as well. And it kind of like, it just became its own thing. What I love about him is what I think is what you're saying was kind of questionable at the time, where everything was homemade. I mean, we're blowing up figures. We got tinsel dragging along to donate energy, stuff like that. That's incredible to me. What I want to ask about the production of the videos, you kind of went into this a little bit yourself, where you're doing all the Foley. Talk to me about the music a little bit too, because I very clearly hear what's going on in the background there, where basically Goku's theme is DBZ Movie 3 music. Is it you singing, humming along the music in the background?
Sometime, yeah. When we were originally putting that Frieza Saga video, when we were originally doing that, like I said, did all the sound effects just with my own mouth. And then I thought with the music, okay, time to add the music. I'll do the same thing. And I got a kazoo and like, I had a little like stuff to kind of drum on. I was like, okay, I'll do, you know, all these themes that I remember. Like, oh, isn't this Piccolo's theme? Yeah. And I'm going, and I scored it that way just in a night. I don't even think I played it for the other guys. I think I listened to it myself and I was like, this is annoying. I do not want to keep watching this. And so I think it was a last minute decision to we ripped like MIDIs from old like tripod websites, GeoCities websites that would autoplay. Yeah. You know, they would autoplay like Head Shala and
sure.
Whatever. And we were just like, you know, we want, you know, oh, here's a MIDI ringtone for cell phones in 1998. Okay. Yeah. Play that. You know, it was just kind of like, and we would, you know, tweak them ourselves to sound a little different and sound funnier and stuff like that. So yeah, it was just kind of every now and then one of those original kazoo tracks did come back because I had them recorded on my iPad and I was like, well, I'll throw it in here. Something dramatic happens and it's just funny to hear the kazoo, you know, but aside from that, it was annoying.
It kind of takes me back around again to your own kind of personal fandom, discovering the Japanese version and using that as a basis really for these videos. Tell me a little bit about, because Mega64, huge. I mean, the scale and the audience you're speaking to is on another level from the kind of stuff we're doing. And even within our own audience and then thinking beyond, when you come in as someone who is talking about the Kikuchi score, when you're talking about Nakao as Frieza, the reactions you get, I mean, think about where you were talking about just in the high school and college alone, blow that out to a global, international online audience.
Yeah.
What is that like?
Yeah. Well, again, I don't know. I think not everyone here watched Dragon Ball growing up, but me and Derek definitely did. And we were familiar, again, because of all the different channels playing different versions of it. We were familiar with the different versions, but yeah, I just always approach it from like the Japanese one is the default. So like, it's not like people aren't going to know who these characters are. It's only going to be appreciated more if we stick to the original thing. If we kind of make it more like the dub where we call this a certain thing and, just stick to how it was in the dub, then you start to splinter. Then it's like, it's that it's not but no one can fault you for doing the original version, and using and trying to use those themes and whatever. But I think we would try to put gags that were specifically from the dub in when it would be appreciated,
Sure.
I think I said this on my stream earlier, but in our Boo saga, no, it was our Saiyan Saga video. That's what it was. When we did the Saiyan Saga, we eventually went back into the Saiyan Saga.
Yeah,
you can see Master Roshi, or again, we just kind of call him that. But you could see him in the background with a blue mug, and it's frothy, and it's like when they censored it in the dub, they made his mug of beer blue, like he had frothy water. So it's like, okay, that's got to be in there. That would be appreciated, Tenshin Han, maybe we'll call him Tien because for this saga, people remember watching it that way. And okay, well, when it was appropriate, we would kind of call on the dub, but otherwise we default to the Japanese one because how can you really fault anyone for doing that, And again, I remember reading your site back in the day and being just evangelized, reading about, guys, the greatest scene in anime is about to happen in America. And if they change the music at all, and I'm like, what are you talking about? If Gohan going Super Saiyan 2, that should not be touched. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then, seeing that original and just being like, oh, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. We stuck to that. I sang that damn song.
It's incredible. No, it's incredible. There's the Meshia in the background. It's so good.
Again, keep it original. There's at least going to be some respect for that. Okay, you did that. As opposed to, it's got to be this composer or that composer, the dub composer,
So just sticking with the rest of the in 5 minutes videos for a little bit, you mentioned doing the Foley yourself and doing all the costumes and keeping it all kind of practical in camera. Are there any other kind of like fun stories or anecdotes or funny things? And then in particular, can you tell me about this guy here?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I'll start there. So the figure that you have in your hands, this is, again, another key memory that I have where I was, my big thing, my whole life, I've collected figures, toys. I've always loved doing that. And again, discovering Dragon Ball and being really into it, was like, I'm thirsty. I'm just, there's some import figures, but they're hard to find. When is America getting cool DBZ figures? Okay. And then finally we got some. And I think I saw them at the store first. Me and my brother were at Walmart, and it was like, oh, they actually have Dragon Ball Z figures. What? I don't recognize any of them. Who's Janemba? Okay, that's weird. Who's or not Janemba? It was Tapion.
Yeah, it was probably Tapion. They had him pretty early.
Yeah, and it was like, okay. Oh, there's Krillin. What? He has hair. Did they mess this up? Like what? Okay. Does he have a gun? And then I remember we didn't pick any of them up. And then I came to, I think it was the forum on your site.
Sure.
And people were going, bro, I just saw Krillin with a gun at Walmart. They gave him a gun it was just the funniest thing ever. It was like, what a misfire or misinterpretation of the show, or just never watched it. But they're giving these guys like 1930s Tommy guns. Like, what? What is this? And so that stuck with me forever as one of the funniest things ever. And then, we did in 2022, we did the Boo saga in 5 minutes, where we, again, did the whole saga in live action. And there's a point where Krillin and Piccolo finally confront I think it's Super Boo at that point. He's all buff and all that. And when Krillin runs in the shot, he's got the Tommy gun in his hand. Like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And we don't call attention to it, but if you know, you know. And it's our friend Garrett makes all our props here. He painfully recreated a full-size version of that gun that he has in that figure.
It looks fucking spot on, man.
I think when that happened, the video came out and I think I tweeted at you like,
you did, yeah.
You're the reason that gag is in there. Your site.
I always remember that. I love that. I appreciate that so much. It was such a funny time because like the show was out and doing well, and it just seemed like they had to catch up with the merchandising, and they didn't know what to do. And like they had these existing molds, and who knows where the hell these weapons came from. Just slap them in. I have a Bardock with a sword over here somewhere too. It's like none of this stuff makes any sense. The figures can't even hold the weapons they come with, but for whatever reason, that's how they packaged them.
Yeah, it was a very strange time. But again, I said this before too. I was constantly refreshing all my favorite DBZ fan sites and all that stuff. And then I remember finally going to your page one morning before school, and it was like, oh, Irwin Toys is going to put out all these new figures. These are brand new molds, and they're actually, check these out. And it was like, I will say, they tapped into my favorite thing. I was not looking for, I love Goku. I love Gohan. All right, Vegeta, great. I have always loved the deep cut figures.
Yeah.
When, even, as a Power Rangers fan growing up, okay, all the Rangers, of course I want those, but when they would sell the monsters, it's like, oh, they made Pudgy Pig. Oh, they made Nasty Knight, or whatever. They made, Pete and Repeat. These were my favorites, is the obscure monsters. And so, yeah, that first run of the Irwin figures, it was like, oh, Nappa? Raditz? Wait, Garlic Jr.? And then I remember everyone was like, where's Goku? I'm like, I don't care. We can get Goku anytime. Roshi with the turtle? This is amazing. So that was an exciting time too. And again, that was on your site. So thank you for keeping me updated so I could collect them all.
I do what I can.
And that I was in theater at that time, and that was where I met everyone here at Mega64. We all met doing like musical theater. And I think we were doing Damn Yankees at the time. And I had just on the way over, I think I went to Walmart to get like socks or something for the play. Oh, you got to have big white socks. Okay, great. And we went to the store, and because of your site, I kept an eye out, and then, oh, they have Chaosu. And that Chaosu was in the dressing room the entire time. Everyone's like, what the hell is this? When I met these guys and I had the Chaosu figure they found from your site. So it's all connected. All paths converge.
I love it. I want to talk about the internet a little bit here because we come from this era of fan sites and just like independent reporting and all this disparate communities and everyone doing cool things in different places. You mentioned DBZ Uncensored, where everyone like kind of had like their own angle that they were doing. It's all been very much homogenized into social media these days. I think we're looking at a correction to go back to websites. I'm still here. Anyone ever wants to go to a website, I promise you I'm still here. I'll always be here.
Again, I was streaming earlier showing all the sites I used to love going to, and DBZ Uncensored is still up. And it has the color-coded guide to like what they cut out of the show and what they censored.
I love that stuff.
And the chat was exploding. The chat was like, oh my God, this rules. Sites like this rule. And it's like, yeah, it could be like this.
It can be. I tell everyone, like, please just like make a site, whether it's a blog or something. Just you can be the guy that indexes, this 10-chapter manga series, and you'll be that guy forever. But however, speaking of kind of like modern internet, is it SSJ8? Tell me about your occasional online poking here.
Okay, so this is a running joke in Mega64 lore, I guess, or whatever, but something we've always loved to do. And again, it's kind of slowed down now just the way the internet moves, but when YouTube was still fairly new, we would make a list of YouTube favorites. You'd have a playlist on your account. You'd have playlists of, this video, that type of video, whatever. But then you could make a playlist of your favorites. And we would find the most just demented favorites. We would search random stuff. Homeless guy eats crap. Like, what would that video be? Oh, here's a sketch somebody did about a guy eating fudge, or whatever. It's like, just finding the weirdest stuff on the internet. Some people would send them to us, and at one point we were looking up DBZ stuff or something, and there was just a clip on YouTube called SSJ8. It was like, oh, Super Saiyan 8? Don't think that happened, but let's click it. and it was just like a still image somebody made of Goku during, I forget what episode or what arc it was, or maybe it was a movie, but it's just a still of Goku, and they sort of colored parts of his hair blue. His hair is like black and blue, and then they clearly put like Adobe Premiere lens flare over both of his eyes, and nothing else happens in the clip. It's silent of just him glaring.
It's just like 10 seconds long or something too.
I think it might be 8 seconds. That's it. And it cracked us up that it was called SSJ8. And I think the info on the video says, I'm not sure, I'm just uploading. And for some reason, we thought it'd be fun. I just left a comment on it. Well, we looked at the comment section on that video, and it was like, as we just described, it's the most pathetic. It's 8 seconds of a still image, but there must have been 30,000 comments on that video. And it's all, a young audience going, yeah, my cousin said this is real. It's not real. Stop saying it's real. You have no proof. And then someone would respond, I'm like 99% sure it's real. Shut up. It's not. It was just a War and Peace level argument on if it was real. And so we would every month or two, and our account had a lot of subscribers, Mega64 account. So we would have like the check mark next to our name and stuff. We would just go in and leave a comment. Hey, I'm hearing confirmation. It's real. And then it would reignite the war. What are you saying? Who is this account? They're wrong. Anyway, and it became a joke that we would just post it, and once we would post it all the time. And then as we got to know Funimation, we would, anytime we'd get them on camera, it's like, all right, just clear it up. SSJ8, real?
Real or not, yeah.
and they would always, be like, come on, what is this? And, but our running joke is we would always say, there was always a million comments on the video that said, could be real. And then we would go in a month later. Yeah, could be real. That was just the joke. SSJ8 could be real. It's been years. We still, every now and then we'll repost that. Could be real. And the joke paid off years later when, eventually they did the Broly movie. Dragon Ball Super Broly? Is that the official title of that one?
Yes, that is. Yep.
So they released that and invited me to the premiere in LA, which was like a huge honor. And I just continued the joke. I took a picture outside the Chinese theater and all that stuff, got to do the red carpet. It was amazing. And then got there and I was like, all right, guys, we're going to find out. Do you think they're going to place your bets? Are they going to do SSJ8 in the movie? And posting that picture and everyone's like, no, what are you talking about? And then in the follow-up tweet, I just photoshopped it onto this. I took a picture in the Chinese theater and then did a Photoshop of that still frame of SSJ8 on the Chinese theater screen. And I was like, guys, I hate to spoil the movie. It's real. It's in the movie. And yeah, like I said, I don't think they created that. I think our friends had left the company by that point.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if they were stoked about that promotion. Guys, SSJ8, it's in the movie.
I mean, what's so funny is think about how far we've come where we legitimately do have blue hair. We have white hair. I mean, we have purple over in the it exists.
I just can't believe I'm talking to you about 5 days after SSJ4 became.
Well, sure.
Sorry, I'm not spoiling that for anybody.
No, we're good. We're good.
Okay, the fact that we're even discussing that was something that, in 2002, I was like, it's not canon. Please don't bring that up. It's not. And here we are, 2025 going, well, that's in there now. That's a thing. It's amazing. It's really, didn't think we would, be still be discussing this kind of stuff, but
I know. And that's the thing to me is Dragon Ball, whether it's a new production or even just the old stuff, it really feels like it transcends time, generation, fandoms. It always draws you back in. What is it about Dragon Ball that keeps you coming back? Whether it is, a new series, obviously Diamond just wrapped up, but just going back, watching old clips or checking out old chapters. What is it about Dragon Ball in particular that kind of sticks with you?
Well, I think it's a few things. I think they crafted a really interesting universe with, I think it's the same reason that every kid gravitated to Star Wars when that was fresh and new. It was like established a universe that has these certain rules and you kind of believed it. It's like, oh, you can train yourself to fly. they're kind of making it sound like you could actually do that. You know, there's a little bit of that, and you want to, and then you see how this universe works, and then there's kind of like always more lore around the corner. You know, again, a lot of people's entry point was DBZ, but in that episode they keep talking about, oh, remember the last time we went on that adventure, and it's like, is that something I could watch? That adventure they're talking about, like, is that, you know? So you had that. There was always like a carrot on a stick, kind of leading you to the next thing. I think that's a big part of it, but also too, it's like, it's such a force of positivity that it's hard to not be kind of infected by it a little bit. You know what I mean? It's exciting to watch. Okay, yeah, action, the fights are cool. Okay, great, but great characters. It always has a positive message where, you know, it can get dark, but it's always like, I said this, I think I said this a long time ago. I think when Toriyama passed, it was like, it's got an energy that makes life better. You know, it's like, I gotta see what Goku does next. Like, I'm letting him down if I don't watch what happens. You know, I'm like, you know, you love those characters. They feel like they did a great job building them as family. That you feel it, you know, even if you haven't watched it in 20 years, it's like, I'm sorry, Goku did what? He transformed into what? Put it on. I got to see this, you know? And like I said, the positivity, it's a force of positivity that never dissipated. It never like betrayed its roots. You know, there might be things that happen along the way that people don't agree with here or there, but it's not like egregiously like, what happened to this? It's just an energy that we thirst for more of. And I think that's why I keep going back to it is, again, I just, you know, I want to see what the family is up to. You know what I mean? It kind of feels like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shows that when they conclude, I'm like, I think you kind of said enough about that. But with Dragon Ball, it's one of those things. It's like, you bring these guys back every now and then. I'm going to want to see what they're up to. And I brought this up before, but when Battle of Gods came into theaters, you know, I remember I had some friends that were kind of like, I thought it'd be a little more action heavy, or I was hoping it'd be a little more this or that. And I was like in heaven in that theater because, again, it was like, if it was, I mean, literally almost the plot of it is, it's like a family reunion. And I was like, this is the best way they could have written this, is like, I just want to see the family again, you know? And I just think them checking in with them every now and then is like a treat. And I hope we can keep doing it as long as possible, you know? So I guess that's my answer. I got there.
I love that. I want to wrap things up with a couple quick hits, maybe. So, favorite character?
Piccolo.
Okay.
I got to go Piccolo. You know, it's just, I love any villain turn hero, but also he's just got so much going. I don't know. There's always something interesting going on behind what his expression is saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that last movie like gave him more of a spotlight. That was so fun. So Piccolo.
Well, maybe this ties into that favorite movie.
Oh gosh. I really liked Superhero, but
yeah,
you know, there's a lot of them I didn't see because, again, I was like Mr. Canon. I was, it's not canon. So there's a lot I missed, but I did love, again, at that time we were really thirsty for more Dragon Ball. I had that VHS of The World's Strongest, and I must have ran that tape into the ground. And then I, on your site, found out, it's coming to DVD, and I was like, okay, this hopefully won't break like the tape did. And it wasn't cheap, but I played that thing until oblivion. So maybe for nostalgia's sake, I might say World's Strongest, but I really like that Superhero movie too.
Nice. And so that would have been the era too, or that was still the Canadian voice cast, right?
Yeah, except that I remember that it was after Goku had changed, right? Peter Calamus?
Yeah, it was Calamus. Yeah.
And do you remember that had a mind blower in that in the dub of that too? And I remember thinking the dub was good for what it was.
Dubs of those three movies, incredible. Yeah,
it was really good, and it blew my mind. I'm telling you, these are the things that were big at this stage of my life. How often, when that original Ocean dub kept saying, he's learning Kaioken. He's going to learn the Kaioken. He knows the Kaioken. Right. And then getting to the World's Strongest dub and Peter Calamus, like, perfectly performed when he was like,
pitch perfect there.
He pronounced it right and screamed it like Masako Nozawa, kind of a little bit, you know? And,
absolutely, yeah.
That was like, Peter, where did that come from? So I have a lot of positive memories around The World's Strongest. So I may have to pick that.
That's great. It's a good choice. I like that one a lot.
Thank you.
How about video game? I just saw some Final Bout nostalgia, so that's probably an easy choice.
Going to Blockbuster at that time and what's Final Bout? What's Dragon Ball GT? I heard it stands for Grand Tour. Well, was that another show? What is that? And yeah, it was. Man, I tried. It was like, but again, I'm sorry. Hi, who is Super Baby? Who is this? And then the gameplay was difficult. But I played a lot of it. I really did. I loved the characters so much. But if I actually had to pick like a game that I liked, man, maybe the early couple Budokai. I remember playing a lot of one or two. I can't remember which I played the most, but maybe those. That's just what jumps into mind. But I really like Fighters. Did we conclude it was Fighters, not Fighter Z, or was it Fighters?
Correct. Z? Yeah, it's Fighters.
Fighters. Yeah. Okay. That was really cool. I did really like that. So nice. One of those early Budokai or that.
How about whether it's Kikuchi or even something from a game? Do you have a favorite song from Dragon Ball?
Oh, not even. Don't even have to think about it. I'm gonna pronounce it wrong. The Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, Unme no Hai, is that how you say it?
Ume no Hi, yeah.
Ume no Hi. I always type it out, but I never say it out. I rarely say it out loud. You know what I was just playing today, and I remember. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I don't want to get you in trouble.
Never.
The feds on this podcast. But literally, what a coincidence. My iPhone was on shuffle. I got all my, audio files on there. Whatever. I got Apple Music, but I also got my own things that aren't on streaming necessarily. Whatever.
Of course.
And I hit shuffle, and live performance of Hikari no Willpower came on.
Oh, and shit. Yep.
I remember getting an MP3 of that from, I think it was someone on your forum or something like that. I don't know. I don't even know. Maybe you posted it. Again, I'm not snitching.
I allegedly may have had at one point some kind of downloadable file. Who can say?
I'm not going to say exactly where I got that, but it came on. I was like, damn, what were the odds that would come on today? And I had the windows down. I don't normally drive with the windows down, but someone left a burrito in my car. So it smelled terrible. So I rolled the windows down and I'm blasting that thing. And I was at a stoplight and the guy next to me was like, yeah, I was like, you don't know what this is, but it rules, doesn't it? Yeah.
Incredible.
But yeah, so that might be up there too. Where was that originally? Was that originally in a movie? I can't remember where. I've listened to the live performance a million times, but I can't remember where it originally played.
So instrumentally, it's Future Trunks' theme from the video game. So it was actually in Final Bout, but I think it was...
I heard it in Final Bout when I was
looking at that earlier. Yeah. Believe Ultimate Battle 22 is when it first appears, but then it shows up for a couple times instrumentally after that. And then, Kageyama did a vocal version of it after that, yeah.
Wow, because I remember hearing it in those things, but I didn't know. I always thought for some reason there was a earlier use of it. And I thought, it's got to be in a movie that I missed, or because there's, like I said, a couple of them I didn't see, but
yeah. That's the thing about Trunks is Trunks has so much good music, whether he's got the Mind Power, the insert song of the series, his TV special has such an incredible ending theme. Trunks has awesome music, man.
Yes. And I should say, I would be remiss not to say that every Father's Day, I go and see my family. Me and my brother will visit, my family, and we will, if there's a Bluetooth speaker or some kind of stereo setup, we will hijack it and as loud as we can blast Solid State Scouter.
My man, correct.
From the Bardock special, I believe that's where that was. We want to pay respect to the fathers, and make sure that's heard. So it is actually legally required for people to play that song that day. So I just want to make sure everyone listening to that.
I always have a Bardock at arm's length.
Oh, there you go. Wow. You had that on the ready.
I do.
I think the only figure of him I have is that they did that SH Figure Arts not too long ago. I think that's the only one I have, though.
I mean, just last thing here. I don't know. Have you seen much Daima?
When I heard about it, I was kind of like, they're doing the kid thing again. I was never a big GT guy, to be honest. Again,
sure.
I'm always about the canon and all that stuff, and I was like, hearing it might not be canon. I don't know. I felt very fine after Z ended. I was like, I'm probably good. So I wasn't the biggest fan of that, and then I ended up watching Super. Really liked Super a lot, but Daima, I was like, I'm getting GT vibes again. And then as it was unfolding, I was like, yeah, this might be GT again, like kind of in another form. But I will say my brother, who is the one who got me into this, kind of motivated me like, yo, get into this. He watched it to the end and he was like, you should finish this. You should, it's only 20 episodes. You should check it out. And the last few episodes, it was like he was watching the Super Bowl, and I kept hearing cool stuff about it. So I'm like, all right, I think you got me. So didn't see that much. I'm going to watch the whole thing now. Can I ask you another question? I have a question for you. I do feel like we should cover this before it ends. Yes. As I mentioned, we've been talking the history of Dragon Ball toys throughout the years. Do you have a number one? I know this is like good luck narrowing this down, but is there one Dragon Ball a toy in the form of a figure or a statue or whatever? Do you have like number one? Like that's the coolest thing, because that is a key pillar of the franchise. I feel like we should pay respect.
It is. And I've only just recently started getting into figures. I mean, I've collected them all throughout my fandom. I would, go to conventions, just get like, oh, let me get this little like 2-inch figure and just load up the shelves with them. Oh, they're cool. There's nothing particularly great about them. I just like having them, fleshing out the shelves. But two maybe come to mind. One's a double set, and it's Goku and Luffy wearing each other's outfits.
Oh yeah.
They're very cool. The other is a more recent one I got, and it's a cheap figure. It's only like $20, but it's Bardock from the Bardock special when he arrives, I think on Planet Meat, and he's just got his like foot up on the rock, and he's just grinning like, oh yeah, here we go. There's just something about the look on his face, and like it's not an expensive figure or like well sculpted figure, but it's like that moment that you can picture exactly what it, like how that scene feels and sounds. I love when they capture something like that.
I agree, and that's something I really have loved about them doing all these SH Figure Arts Dragon Ball figures is, and sometimes they could be a little pricey or they could whatever, but the fact that they'll put out Mr. Satan and he'll have the face where his eyes are just bigger than the rest of his face. Like they'll include that. They did, it was only pre-order through the Premium Bandai website, but they did the Kui, I think it was.
Yes.
And included his face that, his distorted face right before he blows up. Stuff like that. I'm just like, you nailed this. Like it's just unbelievable. I'm still bitter. And I'm going to use this as a forum to get this off my chest too. There were a lot of shows that Tamashii Nations had a display, and they're showing Jocko, the international, international, intergalactic policeman. He goes to every country. No, they showed Jocko. They showed Nappa, where his armor's all frayed off and all that stuff, fried and whatnot. And I'm like, where's this stuff? So they got a long way to go. I'm there. That is the one. There's a lot of things I've kind of like tapered off collecting, and I don't know if I'm going to do that anymore, whatever. But whenever there's a new Dragon Ball Figure Arts, I'm just like, oh, who is it? And but yeah, again, the more obscure, the better. I want like Pui Pui. I want Yakon.
Give me those guys.
I don't need another. I've got like 300 Gokus. I'm good on that. But still, yeah, I'm waiting. I think I'm waiting for I think they did beast mode, whatever they call the transformed what's it, Zarbon. I think I'm waiting for that to show up. I think I already paid. Didn't they do that already? I think I paid for that.
I wish I knew the figure arts well enough. Yeah, I feel like that stuff you pre-order it like 8 months in advance, and one day it just shows up.
I missed the pre-order. They did do the pre-order on Goku's healing tank or whatever, and I think I missed that. So I'm a little bitter, but I'll get over. Hopefully someday it's on the secondhand market. We'll make up for lost time.
Rocco, dude, you've graciously given me an hour of your time here. I am just so glad to talk to you. Last year, I reached out when Toriyama passed. I want to thank you again for recording a message for the show. So glad I could share that because I've seen what a fan you are of the series and of Toriyama over the years. So thank you for that again.
Oh, no, thank you. I mean, that hit harder than I think any of us expected. Like that. Again, it just felt like something that could never happen. So we were all trying to figure out, like, how do we deal with that? And recording that for your show, I actually unpacked a lot of things that, maybe I wouldn't have been able to as easily without a venue to do it. So thank you very much. And,
thanks.
And just in general, thank you for letting me be on here. I've done a lot of podcasts and I've stayed pretty level headed, but you open Pandora's box here when you get, not only is it's your show, not only is it Dragon Ball, but then it's you doing this podcast. And it means so much to me that like I said, sorry, I was a ball of fire this entire time. You couldn't get me stopped.
That's great. It's exactly what I wanted.
Okay, well, good. As long as you wanted it, I can live with it.
You got it. All right, man. Well, thank you. I mean, it's pretty easy, but people can check out Mega64. I mean, that's easy. You Google that, you're going to find it all.
Yeah, Mega64 on YouTube. Like I said, we do a podcast every week and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, if you want to see the Dragon Ball related stuff, Mega64 on YouTube is the easiest way. You just scroll a little bit. You'll see them.
Excellent. Well, Rocco, thank you much. I appreciate it. Everyone's coming your way to watch the DBZ in 5 minutes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you once again to Rocco for hopping on the show. The kind words over the years in the stream, literally before we recorded this podcast episode, Rocco was checking out old versions of Dicey X and Kanzenshuu and DBZ Uncensored and stuff on stream. So just great to see that through other folks' eyes as well. And that's going to bring it to a close this episode. www.kanzenshuu.com. That is kanzenshuu.com. That is the main central repository for all things Kanzenshuu, which makes sense. That's the URL for the site. What else we got going on, man? By the time you hear this, I'm like 2-ish podcasts in the bag, ready to go on schedule. So I'm excited about that. Stay tuned. Obviously, last episode was the big Daima review. The Daima episode guide is more or less complete on the site. There's still some things I want to go back and add to some of those episode guide pages. Hey, speaking of episode guide, maybe filling in some holes on the Super Dragon Ball Heroes promotional anime section. Ask me anything about Ozoto. There's probably a ton more, but let's leave it there. So kanzenshuu.com. patreon.com/Kanzenshuu, grabyournearest.com. We will see you most Saturday nights for that. And we'll leave it there. Once again, thanks to Rocco. My name has been Mike. I'll see you next time here on the podcast for Kanzenshuu. See you later, folks. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to Kanzenshuu, the podcast, an episode about, that's not how this goes.